and welcome to our channel. My name is Tracy. Chloe and Bandit aren't with me today. They're at home, and I'm at my mom's house. Another snowy New England day here, and I have some of the products I got in my February Ipsy that I wanted to kind of share with you guys and do like a get ready with me using those. Although I don't have enough for a full face of makeup, I do have a few other things that I haven't used yet that I wanted to try. So the first thing we're going to try is this Pumpkin and Silk Luscious Pre-Makeup by Seraphine Botanicals, and it does come out very creamy. It has a very nice smell. It is not as thick as the Benefit Cosmetics one, but not as thin as a glass primer, so it's kind of like an in-between. Next, by Natasha Denona, I have this Transform Matte Pore Vanishing Matte Foundation in 42 NY Medium. I got this, I think, in a BoxyCharm, and I haven't had an opportunity to use it yet, so here it is. I also have this Soft Matte Fenty Retouch Primer that I'm thinking I could use as a concealer. There is that. So let's take a look at how these look. All right, so that did blend right in. It was a little liquidy, although it could be because it's a few months old. I mean, I've had it, I haven't used it. Same with this. Okay, so that comes out very, very light. So this may be more of a primer. Goes on, it blends in nicely. There is the difference. Looks like it has a good coverage. I'm going to take my Beauty Blender and I'm just going to spray it a little bit with this Glow Recipe Watermelon Ultra Fine Mist. Very, very liquidy. So we're going to just put that on. Now, I've had this for a while and I never really liked it because it's very thick and goopy. But this is the Kypris Illuminating Eye Primer. So I'm going to try to use this as my shadow primer. All right, so there it is on. It's a nice product. It's just kind of really goopy, so it can be a little bit hard to get out. And what I want to do is put the primer on now so it can kind of dry up a little bit. And while that's drying up, I'm going to take this CAB Cosmetics Volume 1 Contour Palette. It has every color you could imagine. I'm going to do a little contouring work. I'm going to take this contour brush. Actually, I'm going to take this Firma brush that I got in the special Ipsy bag. And I think I'm going to start with this caramel color. So I thought as I did these, maybe we would do like, you know, just a little story time, whatever. So I thought I would start with the subject of kind of first jobs. So comment down below what some of your first jobs were. It doesn't have to be your very first job, but what were some of your first jobs? My very first job was working at a local beach, and basically it was considered an amusement park, although there was like a handful of kind of kiddie rides, maybe like 4 or 5 kiddie rides, and then like 3 or 4 rides for adults. And there was a pool and mini golf, and the beach, of course, boardwalk, lots of little places to eat and such. And so it was run by the city at the time. The city has now contracted that out to another company to do. They still own it, but another company runs it. But I worked like as a cashier. I worked at all the different gates, at the pool, things like that. Well, actually, we had an older lady who usually worked at the pool, so just sometimes on her day off, they would fill that. But you know, it was kind of fun because I got to go to the beach for free whenever I wanted. I could bring, you know, people to the beach with me. So that was kind of really a fun job. Got to play mini golf, got to, you know, swim in the pool. Not after hours, like the lifeguards would swim in the pool after hours, but it was a fun job. And I worked there for several summers. One of the problems with that job was that if it rained, there was no work. So that was one big issue. All right, so by Complex Culture, I did get this in my Ipsy Plus, and this is the Good Glow Blush Duo in So Chill and Glow Rush. Okay, and we did get discounts too. So for some of the restaurants gave us discounts. There was like an ice cream stand that the city ran. We didn't get free ice cream, but we did get discounts on the ice cream. So it was a lot of fun. Met like a lot of people from different places. You know, just working the gate. Sometimes people would just stop and talk with you, whatever. So it was nice. It was a great job. Another one of my first jobs was working at Friendly's. Now, there was not a lot of Friendly's left around, and I think that they were more like a Northeastern kind of restaurant chain. But I think their ice cream is everywhere. So like if you go to the grocery store, you could probably get their gallons of ice cream, which is really good. When I worked there, we had the blue and white check polyester dresses. Oh my God, they were so awful. They were very fitted, and the one that I was at was next to Coast Guard Academy, so we would get a lot of cadets come in, and they didn't tip very well, and they weren't, well, you know, you would think like Coast Guard cadets, they would be very respectful. Oh no. No, I can't tell you how many pats on the behind I got, or leers down, because it was cut like this. It's ridiculous. Oh, I hated working there because it was, you know, we did get like a free meal, and back then they had really good food. And we did get free ice cream when we were working. It was only when we were working. All right, I'm going to use the Persephone palette that I got in the Ipsy bag. Glam Bag Plus. Okay, and those are the colors. But other than that, I would say like what they did then now wouldn't fly, but back then, you know, I mean, we're talking about the 80s, so, you know, we're talking about like 85, 86. People didn't really get too overly concerned. Which one did I use? Overly concerned about that kind of stuff. You know, I worked like one night at I only worked one summer at Friendly's, because it was just too much nonsense for me, at least. I don't deal well with that kind of nonsense. I worked like one night at a nightclub as a waitress, and again, the tips were poor, and people thought they could put their hands all over you, and that just was not what I was there for. And I hate to say it, but some of the women were the worst tippers. They would like leave you a quarter. Like, you know, I get that like you're only ordering a $4 drink or whatever, but like a quarter. Like just tip me at the end of the night when you're done. Because you as a waitress have to, at that kind of place, have to tip out to the bartender. And yeah, so it just wasn't a good economical. I quit after one night. There's a lot of drugs in that place too. So I was just not at all into that. One of my favorite jobs though, it was the worst paying job, I have to say, the absolute worst paying job. But gosh, it was the most fun. I worked at a day camp. Now, I say it's a day camp, although there were, at the beginning of the summer and at the end of the summer, there were 1 week sessions, and then in between that, there were 2 week sessions, and on the second to last Thursday into Friday, so it would have been like the last day of that session, they did sleep over. The campers did sleep over, which meant we slept over. Open air. Now, I don't like bugs. I don't like that kind of stuff. So it was definitely a challenge, shall we say, for me. But I had so much fun working there. There was a pool at this particular one. So there wasn't a lake, there was a pool, which I'm a pool person 100%. If I can't see what's down there and what could be attacking my toes, I just can't. But this particular one had a pool, and we gave swim lessons, and oh, that was a little darker than I thought it would be. And then it was free swim in the afternoon, and we had, you know, all different ages, so from kinder campers up to like counselor in training, those were like the teenagers. And I did work with all different ages, you know, just different sessions, different age groups. And it was just so much fun. There was some really tall pines. So we used to take walks in the pines, and the kids loved that because it was almost like you were in kind of this magical place. Just the pines were so tall, and just the way it looked, it just almost reminded me something out of like a fantasy novel or movie or something. And yeah, I loved that job. And lots of great people that I worked with. Loved working with the kids. I really liked working with the older kids, actually. I mean, I liked working with all of the age groups, but the older kids, it was kind of neat because, you know, you could do different things with them. There used to be some game where it just basically like had questions. I mean, they have games like that now, but it had like questions, but it was basically more like a morals and ethics kind of thing. And, you know, it got them talking and thinking about different things, and we would make up different scenarios that, you know, could potentially happen when you're working with kids, and what to do and how to handle the situations. And it was just so much fun. And we could stay late and go swimming, you know, like all the counselors could stay late and go swimming if they wanted to. So that was a lot of fun too. I have to say, it was, I mean, very poor pay, but you know, I guess you made up for it with having so much fun. You know, we were all young. I probably worked there like my last, well, I think like maybe 3, well, no, not my last, but from freshman to junior year in college. So, you know, we're looking at late 80s, early 90s. I really like this palette. I really like the colors in there. I didn't even show you what I was using. I'm sorry. But I did, I started off with this on the outer corner, and then I used this on the inside. Well, actually, like as an all-over cover. And then I put on some of that kind of in this area. Then I went to this one and kind of just did like right here. I smudged it all in. I did go over it with the glitter. I don't feel like it stayed on very well. But I know you probably need like glue for glitter. And I mean, other than in makeup challenges or get ready with me, I wouldn't wear glitter on an everyday, and I don't really go places where you know, glitter is kind of something I would wear. I mean, if you have fancy places to go, I just, you know, my fanciest place is the grocery store. What did I do under my eye? I think I did this one under my eye. And I did went back over to the corner, to the inside with that. It was a little darker than I maybe wanted in that area, but I was able to smudge it out. All right, now I want to get something just under the brow bone. So I think I'm going to go with that multicolor one right there. Which is a little dark for there, but it's all right. I'm going to smudge it in. So let's see, what other first jobs? When I was in college, because those were all summer jobs. Also summer jobs, like I worked a lot. Like I worked in the summertime, usually 2 jobs because, you know, it didn't pay well. And back then, even like the minimum wage was like 4 something an hour. So I worked in the mall a lot. This was back when malls were like in their heyday. Like everybody went to the mall. That was the place to be. I worked at a bunch of different clothing stores, a male clothing store. So it sold just men's clothes. Which was safer for me because if when I worked in the women's stores, I tended to spend my entire paycheck on the clothes. So when a couple of stores first opened up, I worked in there, helped set up the store, worked there for a summer. And one of the managers, actually, I kind of like followed her. She would say, oh, you're back from college. Hey, we're opening this new store. You want to come and set it up? Because I used to do a lot of the clothing displays and they really liked the way I kind of put pieces together. You wouldn't know that now since I have to have a stylist, but that's only because I just don't have time to kind of shop and think about stuff. But anyway, so she actually worked at 3 of the stores, 2 of the women's clothing stores, and then the men's store that I worked at. And, you know, of course they were just, for me, seasonal jobs. So, you know, they weren't going to hold a job for me. But she always kind of took care of me. She always found me something. So after my senior year of college, her husband was a manager at a record store. Oh my God, that was a great job too. I mean, you know, again, it was minimum wage, but it was a great, great job. You know, we listened to music all day, and the way they worked at record stores like that, you know, like the mask. Hold on, I gotta get my eyeliner on, and I can't do that while I'm talking. All right, so I did use the Illamasqua liquid eyeliner. This seemed like it's kind of getting dried out, so I went over it with the Lottie AM to PM in a purple, and then I kind of just used a thin brush to smudge it out. All right, so on to lashes and back to the record store. So there was like a series, like a schedule we had to follow with the music. So like in the morning was easy listening, but then like we could pick what we wanted to hear as far as that went. You know, like they had some CDs that they sent to us that or tapes, because back then we were still using tapes too. So they had tapes or CDs that they would send to us that we that they recommended that we play. And then we could also like pick, you know, other like easy listening. And then as the day went on, you know, we got to have more like upbeat kind of stuff. There was this whole rack of new and developing artists. So I remember when Sinead O'Connor first came out. So again, that's, some of you may not even know who that is. And she was on the new and developing rack. And the neat thing about that rack was that any customer who came in and bought something off of that rack, if they didn't like it, they could return it. No questions asked. It was the only stuff that they could return, opened, listened to, whatever. It was a way to kind of get people to hear maybe some new artists. And we had, you know, they sent us like posters, and we had to make displays with the posters. So I remember having so much fun with that. And anything that we had opened to listen to, once it was out of rotation, once we were like, okay, well, we're not gonna, you know, that's no longer new, or, you know, whatever, then at our monthly meeting, it would go out to, you know, who wanted it. And if 2 people wanted it, I think it would go by your sales, maybe. I don't remember how that worked. It was very rare, though, that 2 of us wanted the same thing. Like, we all seemed to kind of like the same different things. So, like, I had one friend who was really into, all right, so I'm going to try the, by the way, the Huda Beauty Legit Lashes. I don't know which side you start with, so I'm going to start with volume, maybe. So, yeah, there was one girl that I was friends with who, there's the volume wand, was really into kind of more like the AC/DC and, you know, kind of like back then what we called heavy metal, or like the hairband, like Twisted Sister and stuff like that. And then there was another guy who was really more into the dance music stuff. And I liked like a lot of different things. So, so it wasn't usually that difficult to determine who was going to get what when they went out to kind of the staff. And, oh, that is nice. I have to say that I am a fan of this mascara. So, let's see the difference. And that's just with the volume one. So let's try the other side. And then there was like special orders. So, oh, of course we got a discount. I don't remember what it was, 20 or 30% off. I don't remember. I feel like maybe the Nada rack, the new and developing artist rack, we maybe got more of a discount off of. But okay, so there is, that is the curl and lengthen side. So I feel like we might have gotten different discounts for the Nada rack, but it was still a pretty good discount. But then there was also special orders. So if you came into the store and you were looking for something and we didn't have it and you special ordered it, so if I were the sales associate that recommended special ordering it, whether or not you picked it up, whether or not you actually paid for it, none of that mattered. It was just showing that we were trying to help customers find things that, you know, we didn't carry, trying to assist them in some way. So, so we would get points for that. And after so many points, we could get a tape, a CD, or a DVD, or vinyl. But at that point, the people weren't like listening to vinyl as much. I grew up in the age of vinyl. So, so there wasn't as much on vinyl in the store as there was on tape and CD. But it was, I think, if you got 9 special orders, you could get a tape, and then I think it was 13 for the CD. Kind of went along with like what the cost of it was. And then I think 20 if you wanted a DVD. And, oh no, we didn't have DVDs back then. It was a VHS tape, sorry. Yeah, I don't think we had the DVDs back then. All right, so there is the difference in the two. So that is with and without. So come in and do the other side, or I'm gonna look like a clockwork orange. Yeah, so that was so fun. And we would just like, you know, we were having so fun, just like playing music and dancing around. And I remember like we would kind of like dance, you know, in the aisles. People would come in and it was like there was a house party going on or something. But it was so much fun to work there. I have to say, I so enjoyed it. But that was like my last kind of frivolous job. You know, after that I'd graduated college and was looking for more work in the kind of field that I worked in. Which my first job out of college, so my degree, my undergrad degree was in human development and family relations. And so my first job was at a daycare, which I mean kind of falls under that. you know, it was better paying. It was fun. Like, I liked working with the kids, but the company itself, it was kind of like they just did crazy stuff. Like, if kids came in with like their favorite stuffed animal, we were supposed to take the stuffed animal away from them. And I mean, that's a whole comfort thing, but I don't know, they frowned upon that. They thought that that was, I don't know. I really don't know what they thought. Like, one time I had made just some circles, squares, like different shapes out of felt, and just like threw letters on them, letters and numbers. Like, not like I was expecting them to know what they were, because I was with the 2-year-olds, but just, you know, I mean, sight recognition, it's never a bad time to start. Just kind of seeing what a letter looks like. And I mean, I can remember being a kid and having like blocks with letters and numbers on them at a very early age. And anyway, they yelled at me for that. They were like, oh, no, no, no. But I don't even know what their problem was. Like, all right, whatever, I don't care. And they ended up going out of business. They went bankrupt and didn't tell the employees, and were like giving us checks that we couldn't cash. So I got out of there. So it was kind of in my field, kind of wasn't. But my next job was, I worked at an agency that worked with adults with severe and prolonged mental health issues. And at the time, you know, the major hospitals were starting to kind of get smaller or close down, the major psychiatric hospitals. So we were taking people out of the hospital that were ready to go and, you know, had been there for a while. And I worked in a program that was, at the time, it was called dual diagnosis. And then it was co-occurring disorders. And I don't know what the term of the month is now. But I worked in what was the very first dual diagnosis residential program in our state. And so it was kind of like a groundbreaking thing, because there weren't any others. And it was groundbreaking also because if people had issues, if they had a relapse, I'm trying to use that Fenty as a concealer. It is very, very light, but oh, it lights up quite nicely. If anybody had a relapse with substances and we tried to get them into a substance abuse program, they would say, oh no, they have these mental health issues, you know, because we would have to tell them what medications they were on. And they were like, oh, no, 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 they have mental health issues. We can't possibly take them. And if they had a psychiatric issue, if their mental health had started to, if their symptoms had started to flare up, whatever, we couldn't get them back into the hospital, because the hospital's like, well, we're on our, you know, we're closing down, like, we're not taking them back. And there was only one, well, I think two hospitals that were remaining open. Only one now is open. But they wouldn't take them because they had substance abuse issues. So it was very hard when people were starting to decompensate to get them the help that they needed. It was very, very difficult. But my job was, I did work, I don't know if it was every weekend. I did work weekends. I remember that. I don't know if it was every weekend, if we kind of traded it off, because again, it was a residential program. But I was kind of like Julie from The Love Boat. Like, all right, all of you don't get that reference, but there used to be a show called Love Boat, and Julie was the cruise director, so she made sure everybody was having fun. So I was kind of like Julie from The Love Boat, because I was the youngest person on the team. And my job was to kind of help them recreate, to teach them rec skills in the community. Many of them hadn't lived in the community for many years. So we would go, there was a private lake that we would go to, because my boss was retired military, and there is a military base, a naval base in the town, and they had like 2 lakes. So we used to go to the officers' lake to go swimming, because it was less crowded, so that was kind of better for them. We'd go bowling, we'd go to the movies, like we'd do all kinds of like fun things. We'd go out to eat. We used to take them, I used to work at least one late night, which I think I worked until like 9 or 11 or something like that. So we would go grocery shopping that night. And so, you know, they would have to learn money management skills and all those kinds of things. So I really had a lot of fun at that job too. I mean, some of the people were, you know, significantly challenged by their symptoms. We had one woman who would hear voices. She was diagnosed with schizophrenia. She would hear voices. They would typically be people she knew as well. So she would hear like her mom and her sister. And it was very troubling because they would say very not nice things. And after working together for several years, she would hear my voice as well. So as an all over kind of just translucent powder, I did use this Item Beauty one, which is nice because it's kind of an all-in-one. So the brush is right there and all you do is just brush it on and perfect, good to go. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. I could tell stories that would have you rolling in the aisles from some of the things that had happened, but those will be, you know, leaving out all the names and details. Those will be for maybe another day. So last is lips. Now I have a couple of different, I actually got like 3 different lip products. So I have a couple of different ones. I feel like this one's darker, so I'm going to start with this one and then maybe go over it with this one. So this is that Sugar Matte as Hell. And no, I can't read. I'll put the name there for you guys because I didn't bring my glasses. So yeah, those are some of my first jobs. And write down below what some of yours were. You don't have to go into a big detail, but, you know, or even like a specific place. You could just say, you know, whatever, I did this for a while or whatever. All right, so that is the Sugar one. And I really like that color. I think it's a nice color. I do like the berries. This is the Cab Cosmetics. This is a lighter one, but it's really, really pretty. You can't really see it over this, so I think all I've really done is kind of make it that same color. Get some of that off there. Maybe by itself. Brows, I didn't do my brows. So let's see, what other jobs have I had? I taught at a community college, so I'm licensed in my state as a drug and alcohol rehabilitation counselor and as a professional counselor. So we have a program, a community college program for the drug and alcohol rehabilitation counselor. And I taught in that program for several years. I taught my first class in like 2004, and then I taught my last class in 2012 because the community colleges are state-run, and in 2012 I got a state job in my field, so I couldn't work both because it was like working for the same employer, 2 different jobs. So like supervisors could, because they were considered salaried, but for my position, I'm not considered salaried. It's like working 2 jobs for the same employer. But that was really, I really enjoyed that. Again, I got to meet some really interesting people. People in recovery tend to gravitate towards the field. And so it was really interesting learning a lot more about different people and what brought them to the field, what brought them, you know, their journey of addiction and recovery. So I really enjoyed that. I was very sad to have to give that up. And I've seen some of the, actually I ended up working with one of my students, got a job for the state at the same agency I did, although a different, we have all different places. So she was in a different, you call it an office. But so, you know, she was in a different part of the state working. And she's since written a book, I think on trauma and recovery. So I've had, the wife of one of the guys I worked with was a volunteer at the place that I work, and one of my students was a volunteer at the place that I work. I say was because right now with COVID, we don't have any volunteers coming in because it is a congregate living facility. But so a lot of interesting people throughout the state that I've met and had a great time, you know, not only teaching but learning from too. All right, so this is my final look. My hair is a little flat today, but it is snowing, so I don't want to mess with it too much because when I go out to shovel again, it'll just get flat again. So that's going to be my look for the things that I unbox. All right, well, thanks for hanging in there with me and chatting. And please consider hitting the like, subscribe, and the notification bell. You never know what video I'm going to pull for my subscriber of the month. And so I don't know what I'm going to do in the February bundle, but I don't know. I'll figure it out. And if you don't comment, I won't know because I do a random comment picker for each one. No special word. I just pick 4 random videos, run the comment picker, come up with 4 semifinalists, and then from that I put them on the wheel of names, and then one person wins the subscriber of the month bundle. All right, well, thanks again for hanging out with me, and hopefully I'll see you soon.